What's up everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and it's time for another installment of the Dear John Q&A. The Dear John Q&A is where I take a detailed viewer question and then answer it in video form if I feel it needs more context. If you would like to be a part of the series in the future, potentially, then leave a comment down below if you think you have an interesting question about music that I should tackle in the future. Today we have a very good question about experimental music, something that's a little bit avant-garde, I suppose. Is it good just because it's experimental? We're gonna get right into it. Please drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new in town. My viewer Arcane had to ask, Dear John, does the originality or uniqueness of a song influence how great it is? I just want to ask this question because a lot of critically acclaimed albums like To Be Kind by Swans or Kid A by Radiohead tend to get so much praise for being new and innovative. But does it justify it on its own sounding great? I've listened to both albums and I must say, To Be Kind is just near unlistenable. Maybe it's my lack of understanding in musical theatrics, but it just doesn't sound good to my ears at all, specifically the song Oxygen. Are these strange, groundbreaking albums quote-unquote good simply because of how unique they are, or because people naturally grow to appreciate this kind of music? Thank you for the question, Arcane. That was a very detailed and specific one, and it makes it perfect to answer right here on Dear John. When it comes to experimental music, I can't say that I am necessarily the go-to guy that says, yes, I am all for changing it up. Give me the weirdest stuff. Give me somebody rattling a screwdriver around in a glass and then put it over a drum beat, and then I am all for it. I'm saving it to Spotify. I'm buying the vinyl, all that good stuff. I've never been that guy, and I have had my share of troubles getting into some of these bands. Like you just mentioned, the album To Be Kind by Swans. I kind of find it unlistenable myself. I've never gotten into it. It is far too long, far too out there. I respect that other people like Anthony Fantano absolutely adore it and give it a 10 out of 10, but to me it just seems like one of those albums that was made for critics and is just weird for the sake of being weird. But then again, I used to think that about Radiohead, and you mentioned Kid A in your question, and that's an album that has truly grown on me. I will admit that it's one of the most difficult albums to get into in Radiohead's discography, and as I've gravitated and loved them more over the past year or two, I think that that's been the most difficult to unlock just because of the way the songs are made. There's so much finesse there, but there's also a lot of abstract things that just don't fit into a typical song. Other bands and groups like Animal Collective, Battles, Sonic Youth, and of course even Death Grips are all out there making experimental music and have been, some of them at least, for quite a while now. And ones like, I guess even Pink Floyd, the shirt that I'm wearing today, are experimental, and I do like that for the most part. Their albums like, obviously, Dark Side of the Moon, look what I'm wearing, Animals of course, and The Wall being my personal favorite, I would argue that there's some weird stuff in there that doesn't necessarily fit the mold. There are many types of experimental music, and I don't think that obviously it just being new and weird and something different is what makes it great. It's what connects to the listener, and I think that listeners are always wanting that new avant-garde sound. They're wanting something that pushes sonic boundaries, and even though I'm not always here for that, I understand why people might want it. I think there's a line that people walk. It sways back and forth when it comes to experimental music. And I myself do like genre-pushing things at times, things that mold different sounds together, but I'm also one of those people that has a hard time getting into something that just sounds so weird. I think that I've had a hard time with producers like Sophie, and even her album is something that I just don't see myself getting into all that much. It came out earlier this year, and I just found it weird for the sake of being strange, and it's considered art because of that. But so many people love it and would obviously argue that it's groundbreaking and that people will point to this record and others like it in the future and say, this is what changed music. I personally haven't connected to that, but I've gotten into some more experimental stuff that Sophie has been a part of, like Let's Eat Grandma, for example. She did some of the producing there, like Hot Pink is probably one of my favorite songs of the year. And then you've got a band that I mentioned like Battles, where I've loved pretty much everything that they've dropped except for, ironically, Gloss Drop. I've liked their other records, and I've obviously been into Pink Floyd, and I've opened my ears a little bit more to Radiohead. And by a little bit, I mean a lot, because damn, have I fallen down a rabbit hole. But the question at hand was, is it good because it's new, because it's experimental? No, something that makes an album good would be the contents that lie within. It's not necessarily good, and you can't just start praising it because it has a different sound, like I already alluded to, like somebody scratching a screwdriver around inside of a glass bottle or something. It wouldn't necessarily be great just because it's new and maybe hasn't been done before, although I'm sure that's probably been done by someone. Let me know in the comment section down below. But it's not necessarily good just because it breaks new ground. I think a lot of people have done that and have absolutely failed at trying new things, but then it's back to the drawing board. So experimentation has to happen in order for any artist to grow. If you're looking to get more into experimental music, I would highly recommend the channel Deep Cuts. I will link his channel in the description down below. He does guides on getting into people, and obviously like album guides on like 5 records to get you into power electronics, or 5 albums to get you into this or this, little starter packs. So if you're looking to expand and branch out and try some new things, I think that Deep Cuts does it best, and I will let him speak much more eloquently than I ever could. Thank you so much for the question though, Arcane. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this episode of Dear John on experimental music. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you do have a question that you'd like to have me answer in the future potentially on Dear John, then please sound off in the comments now. Please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know that you're enjoying the Dear John Q&A. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel and you would like to see more music related content. If you want to see the last episode of Dear John, then tap right here below me, or tap here for another recent review on the channel. All of my social media accounts can be found linked down below, including my Patreon, and other than that, I'll see you soon for more on ARTV.